Welcome to the Real Dad Fitness Podcast, episode 14. This is the Real Dad Fitness Podcast where we talk about fitness, and it's a conversational podcast, and it's awesome. That's all you need to know. I'm PT.
And I'm Jonathan. Welcome. Glad to have you here again this week. Missed you guys. We had life happen in between the last two podcasts. We missed an episode, but we're back better than ever, and glad to have you here.
Nice. I like the way your tone of voice kind of like laid it on the listeners, like it was their fault. We really missed you guys last week. I don't know where you were, but yes, we're back, and it's good times. Let me kick it off with a non-fitness related question for you, because I just saw this really interesting article while we're getting ready to stop. So certain states, Jonathan, have a set amount of money that if you are incarcerated and it turns out later that you did not commit the crime, they will pay you a certain amount of money per year based on like how long you were, or based on whatever, they pay you a certain amount per year. So here's my question to you. Like, obviously there's no amount of money that would pay for that or whatever, but if you had to guess, what would you say is the actual amount of money that for that?
I bet it's not that much, probably like 80 grand a year or something.
Nice. That is a very good guess, super accurate in fact. The highest state is Texas, and they are 80 grand a year. It goes all the way down to, good old Wisconsin is $5,000 a year.
You're kidding me. Even 80 grand a year, you better lawyer up if you put me in jail for a crime I didn't commit, because, man, yes, my time's worth about $500 million a year.
Colorado's doing good. They're 70 grand a year.
Yeah, that's the name of my salary. That's a ripoff. You know what I mean? You gotta at least pay me what I'm making.
Some states will, and then some states, like my own Tennessee, deal with it on a case-by-case basis, and then, but so some states just flat out say we do not pay for that. So I don't know.
Whoa! All right.
I don't know what the deal is there, but their law is that they do not pay when that happens. So yeah, there you go. Totally unfitness related, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. So how's it going?
Good, man. Yeah, I think good. Life's good. I've been getting free exercise by putting in my backyard lately.
Nice.
And doing the landscaping myself. So the other day I moved 18.5 tons of dirt and then laid sod for 10 hours on one day.
Nice.
So yeah, I think that counts as passive fitness, free fitness.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, no, you know what? That's what I thought too. Like, I really debated, like, do I do this myself or do I pay someone to do it? And like, partially, I got the quote for doing my backyard. It was such a shocker. Like, all I'm getting, like, my backyard's a decent size, but it's all I was getting was basically grass and trees and rocks. Nothing crazy. No like fancy schmancy like paved stone things. Nothing crazy. And the quote I got on it was 20 grand. And I was like, wow, man, that is just ridiculous. I priced out the materials, and I was like, just on general principle, I'm going to do it myself. And that was kind of where I started. But then actually, I got to say, I'm totally glad I'm doing it because, one, it's really fun. It's been a while since I've done just hardcore manual labor, something like that. But it's really rewarding. You know, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. When this project's done, I'll have my fill of that stuff for a while. But
right.
Plus, I get, I built my own sprinkler system, so that was cool, and it was like a, sense of accomplishment when I got all in there. And plus, I used all the best materials, so I knew I wasn't getting like some cheapy crap that some contractor was going to sneak in there on me. So if you're a bit of a control freak and you want a good sense of accomplishment, I say do stuff yourself, especially when it's physical labor. You'll feel better about it when you're done, and save a ton of money too. So.
Nice. And plus it's one of those things where you can, 20 years down the line when your son or daughter brings home like their date or whatever, and you're like out on the back porch, you can be like, hey, did you see that grass out there? Yeah. That was me. Yeah, I put that in.
I did that.
Yeah. You can be that old dad who's like, oh,
sweet.
Points out all the stuff you did. So
do that anyway. Just make stuff up. See the power lines to this neighborhood? I put those in.
Nice. So I got two general topics I want to talk about today. One is death, and one is running. So where do you want to start?
Let's start with the latter so we can avoid the former as long as humanly possible.
Are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to? I don't want to leave up with death at the end, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's a crappy leave. All right. We'll go with the death first.
All right, cool.
And then.
All right, this is just me on my soapbox for a second. Well, it is kind of an interesting thing, though, I think. So, how to start? Okay, so we had like a family emergency situation where we had one of our family members was in the ICU, and it kicked me back to when my mom was in the ICU a couple times, and one thing that I suddenly remembered, and I was big on this like right when my mom died, and I was like, I got to do this, but I realized that I've never done it, and so this brought it to the forefront. So I was like, this is something that we should talk about and just put out there as public service announcement, and that is making sure that you have a advanced directive of what you want done if you're in the ICU. So. You know, because basically it's just super horrific and horrible for your family if you don't. Like, so then they have to be the ones to decide, you know, what's going to happen to you and how long, keep you on life support and all that stuff like that. So, interesting side note though to that is that the town that I used to live in, La Crosse, Wisconsin. There's an article on NPR recently called "The Town Where Everyone Talks About Death," and it's about La Crosse, Wisconsin, and they started doing this thing in the hospital system in La Crosse, where they started asking you if you wanted to do an advanced directive, like at basically all doctor's appointments and stuff like that. They would like ask you about it, and basically everyone like said yes, almost everyone, and so like almost everyone has one there now. So something like I think 95% of the people who die in La Crosse had an advanced directive, whereas the national average is like 30%. So as a direct result of that, they have the lowest end-of-life healthcare costs in the nation. Because,
wow.
Like, yeah.
Right.
So, because, like, you know, if your family decides, they're basically always going to be like, oh, no, just, like, keep trying, or whatever.
Sure.
You know, they do not want you to die. But if it's actually, like, what you want, most of the time people are gonna be like, yeah, no, if I can't live in this one, you know, if these criteria can't be met, then I don't want to keep going or whatever. So definitely helps healthcare costs, but also way more importantly, it like keeps your family out of that super agonizing decision to, you know, it's already a super terrible time and they don't have to try to decide what to do about it. So that's on my to-do list for this week. I can't believe I haven't done it yet, but that's my advice to all of you out there is to help your family, since we're all dads, or a lot of us are dads, or moms. I don't know what you are listening, but you know, you don't want to put your family in a terrible emotional situation and make it worse than it is. So get yourself an advanced directive.
All right. That is some good advice, dude. Something I certainly hadn't thought of. I would be in the 70% of nationwide people that has no advanced directive. Mine's going to be like, just keep trying. I'm worth it. Keep going. Freeze my head.
He's been on this respirator for 30 years, but man, we got it. It's right here in writing.
That's it.
All right. So that was the morbid topic. But let's talk about running, because I thought we could kind of mostly focus on running today, because I know you're doing your half marathon training, and I am, because I want to be like you in every way and inspired by you. I also started a half marathon.
Really?
Program.
Awesome.
Yes. So
did you start this week, or?
No, I'm actually haven't started it yet. I think the week after next. The marathon's the beginning of September.
Gotcha.
So I'm kind of in the pre-stages right now, but trying to build up my weekly mileage and all that stuff to get up to that point. And I actually took a piece of advice that you had last time that I'm going to be honest. When you said it, I was like, oh, that's kind of lame advice. But when you said you should just, you know, try to do 1% more, 1% harder each time you go out. But I was like, all right, well, I'm going to try this. And actually, it was really good advice, because when I went out there and did it, I ran my fastest 5K that I've run in like over a year. And just doing that, I was just like,
congratulations.
Just got to like just try a little bit harder, because when I go out and run, I've run quite a lot over the past couple of years, and I just have that certain groove that I get into, and you know, my mind wanders and I don't get it. So that 1% tip really pushed me over the edge. I was concentrating on my effort and just doing that made me faster. So
there you go. That's funny. It's funny because that's actually like a huge strategy in all my fitness. One, it makes me laugh that you thought it was super lame. But two, it works, right? I mean, like,
yeah.
Because like there's a point when like that's the difference between like if you go out for a run, and a little caveat on this is, you know what, if you're just like general health, you never really need to improve. It's not like crucial, but if you would like to see some gains and some improvements, that 1% is where you get it. Like every time I run, even if I've been like that always pops into my head, especially if I have 1 mile left. I mean, most of the time I'm trying to do better overall for a whole run, but every time in my last mile, I'm like, oh, I've got 1 mile left. I want to do a little bit better. I want to run my fastest mile, and I think that's really, really, your body makes those improvements. So
Yeah.
really good
Yeah.
for running.
Yeah, I think what worked for me is just got me into that mindset of trying to do better, and then also obviously it's pretty hard to run just 1% harder. So so I
Right.
probably had to run like 5% harder, or 10% harder, or whatever.
Right.
So good stuff. So good advice there, and I'm sorry I second guessed you on that seemingly lame advice, and to all the listeners who were like, that was lame advice.
Yep. So if you thought that, listeners, if you were like, man, that was lame advice, just do what Tyler did, try it out, and then you'd be like, wow, that's really good advice.
Indeed. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about, there's a lot of people out there who hate running or just don't run. But let's talk about those people and talk about how kind of to start running.
Yeah.
Why to start running? Why do you like running, first of all? Let's talk
this.
about that.
This is a great topic because I was actually hanging out at a bonfire last night with some friends and mentioned like running and stuff like that. And one of the guys, and like eating well. And one of the guys was like, well, I think I would prefer dying early than running and eating well. So that's some pretty hardcore hatred towards something, if you're
Right.
like, oh, I would prefer death over that. So here is the running secret. When you start running, it sucks. This is pretty much a universal truth. If you're not a runner and you don't run, and especially if you're not even in good shape and you try running, it totally sucks. But I would say that I would make a correlation if you are a beer drinker or a wine drinker out there or a coffee drinker. It is the same kind of progression. Like the first time you try beer, I would say almost universally everybody hates it. I remember the first time I tried Coors Light, Miller Lite when I was, in my early 20s or late teens or whatever it was, and it was disgusting, and I was like, oh my god, this is horrible. Now I love to get a hoppy craft beer. I love Belgium yeast. I am into it. I love the flavors. I love, on a hot summer day, a beer, it's awesome. I love it. Same with, coffee, same kind of thing. You try it the first time, it's disgusting, and eventually it's like, man, I love a good cup of coffee in the morning. Running is the exact same thing. The first time you try it, the first time you're getting into it, it's like, oh, this is painful, and I'm sweating, and my body is reacting poorly to it, and I don't enjoy it at all. But you got to stick with it. It's and it's all about, seeing those gains, and they'll come really quickly, especially when you first start. Those first miles, if you're sedentary and you don't have, you're not fit, you might be running 12, 15-minute miles your first time, and you wouldn't be able to run a mile. You go out there and run for 10 minutes, and you're like, whoa, can't even run anymore, and it's disappointing, and it's not that fun. But really, stick with it. Pick a small goal. If you're going to go running and you want to get into running, say I'm going to run 3 days a week for 2 months. That's kind of at least dipping the toe in the water. And every time, just try and go a little farther and a little longer, whatever. Don't worry about time. Just try and run for longer distances before you have to walk. And eventually, like I'm at the point where I truly love to run. And it took a long time to get there. From when I got back into running, it was a slow process to get to that point. But one, there's a great feeling of accomplishment, especially when you do the 1% thing we were talking about. Like today, I ran 6 miles this morning. It was part of my training thing for my half marathon, and I ran. It felt great. I got times that I was happy with, and at the end, that whole thing of runner's high is totally true. You feel awesome at the end. You just feel like a euphoric sense, and then on top of that, like it just feels good to get out there and run, to really push your body a little bit, and it's just an all-around. Both mentally and physically, it just feels great. And then plus you have awesome results. You know what I mean? You get winded much less easily. You have way more endurance for everything in life. So there's tons of actual benefits that you'll see throughout your daily life. So yeah, I don't know. All all that combined, eventually you love to run. Like now I have days where I run hills or don't. Short runs I like. Long runs. You know, they're all different. They're all kind of fun, and you gain a taste. You acquire a, you know, whatever a taste for it. And there's running in a nutshell. It gets way better. In fact, it gets to the point where it's fun and you'll really like it. Anyone out there that's not, you know, giving it a fair shake, and it takes a while. It's not overnight. It's not over a week. You know, and another thing not to freak out about, your body adjusts really, really quickly. Those first weeks, you will feel like, oh, my knee hurts or my whatever. You'll feel like weird pains in your joints and stuff like that. And I mean, yes, if you have joint pains or whatever, you should definitely consult a physician and all that stuff. But most of the time, that stuff kind of hits you like a wall in those first few weeks and then goes away. Your body adjusts, it gets used to running. And I'm not saying, like, you know, if you've been running for 6 months and you start to have joint pain, that's probably something you should really pay attention to. But those first 2-3 weeks, you know, that first time out, you might be like, oh, my knees hurt. Oh, this sucks. I can't do it. My joints are bad. They're probably just fine. Just your body just needs to get acclimated to running.
Nice.
So, yeah.
First of all, I like how you tried to sell us on the idea that you didn't have a beer till your early 20s. I like
Okay.
I picture like 23-year-old Jonathan be like, you know what, I should try a beer.
I'm here. I haven't been around.
That may or may not be the case. In all actuality.
Could have gotten an early start on that one, maybe.
But no, I like your analogy of the beer and the wine. That's good. And yeah, I definitely agree with you that it gets easier. I did a walk to run kind of thing because I was like way out of shape, and that was super good. Where I think to start with, I would literally, I think it was 2 minutes of walking and like 30 seconds of running, and man, that was hard. It was really hard, but then like slowly, like, you know, every day you would add a little bit of running and take away a little bit of walking or whatever. And you know, I've done some pretty far distances now. I've done like 16 to 17 mile runs, but I can honestly say none of that is nearly as hard as that first mile was so hard. So and also to your point about the body pain, yeah, I had really bad like shin splint kind of stuff where I was like, oh, I should probably not be running. And then thankfully I looked on some website and they were like, yeah, that goes away. So and I was really on the verge of quitting, so I'm really glad I read that and just stuck with it. And yeah, sure enough, it went away really fast.
Yeah. I'm glad you obviously stuck with it. I'm glad you mentioned it too, because I do have one friend that I couldn't convince that I think he went for 1 or 2 runs and he was like, oh yeah, my shins hurt, I got shin splints. I was like, first of all, shin splints are like, no, you don't have shin splints. You gotta earn shin splints. You gotta push your body to extreme limits, and then when your body's screaming at you to chill out, you gotta keep pushing them to extreme limits for a very long time. Then you can tell me you got some shin splints. But yeah, most people that are like, I have shin splints, that is not the case at all. And like you said, especially when you first start running, you'll have some weird pains that you have to kind of push through. Again, if you hear a snap or a pop, that's something different. But
right. Well, let me ask you this, because this is where I have often struggled in the running life, and that is, so like you go out, let's say you start your walk to run thing like I did, and just an amazing feeling of accomplishment going out there and running your first mile, and then you run your first 2 miles. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Your first 3 miles, that's amazing. And the urge is just to keep basically going further and further. You want that accomplishment, and once you've kind of reached the logical limit of that, like once you're like at like 10 miles and you're like, well, I probably can't do this 3 times a week. I can't just keep going. So that's where I've had trouble, is being like getting past wanting to have, you know, the best I've ever done, and just getting in the groove of, this is something that I want to do 3 times a week or whatever. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of weird for me, because I'm like I have like a running cycle that I go through every year, basically because it's cold here in the winter and I hate to be outside in the cold, not to mention the fact that there's snow on the ground. It sucks running through snow. So every fall I'm always in my best running shape, and every spring I'm in my worst, you know. So I guess basically I take a big, huge running break every year. I don't know if that helps keep me kind of motivated, because then essentially I get those big gains again every year. You know, granted, I never hit my peak performance. You know, I'm sure that kills that, but still, I get in good shape, and every year I try and do my best. And some years I suck. You know, some years it doesn't work out that great. You know, through like even like I was going to bring up last week. This last week was a bad week for me. I did not stick to my half marathon training, and normally I stick to, if I'm doing a training program, generally I stick to it really well. But I mean, whatever. I just had life get in the way. It was, and you know, kind of subtopic. Looking back, I could have stuck to my training schedule, but it was lack of preparation. Like one day I knew I had a ton of stuff going on, and I was like, I should really get up really early and do my run. And then I didn't, because I was like, I can do it later after the kids go to bed. And as the kids go to bed, there's this giant like hail thunderstorm. So that was shot. That ended it for me that day. And actually, I had several thunderstorms this week, which kind of helped screw it up. And anyway, I'm totally digress. But anyway, use preparation, or you know, prepare for the things that you know can come up, and stick to your running schedules that way. But yeah, I don't know, and that like I don't know how to explain it really about like sticking to running though. Like it definitely gets just fun, and like it's very, at least for me, like it's a very peaceful experience when I go for a run. You know, I've got music that I listen to when I run. A little bit of my mind is devoted to running better and faster, and then the rest of me is just kind of gets in a zone, and you know, I don't have to think about 8 million things on my run. I just kind of concentrate on my breathing and strides and whatever, doing a little better, 1%.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite part about running is that I'm alone out there, and I can't basically can't be interrupted or be, you know, have some little problem come up that I have to deal with until I'm done with my run. Although I do take my phone, so I guess technically someone could call me and with a problem. But it's just nice. It's just nice to get out there in nature and run around.
Absolutely. I bet you got some killer running areas around you. I mean,
yeah,
Tennessee.
we do. We have a really cool running trail that I usually go on. It's like around a lake, and it's got some hills and stuff. It's pretty nice.
Cool.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, around running, so it's like the I'm going to do another news story quiz here for you. So, you know, there's a lot of World Cups going on, a lot of sports and stuff like that. I don't know who did this study. I don't know who did the study, but it was on Gizmodo.com. So they studied a number of sports and how far the athletes actually run per game in these particular sports or whatever. So thought this was interesting. They did not do baseball because they were like not too much fun. Not too much of that one. But all right, so basketball. Do you want to take any guesses at this?
Oh, like how far people run in
in a NBA basketball game. How far do they run?
Oh man, let's see. If I knew more about sports, I could do better. It's been so long. Let's see. We're back and forth. I'll say 4 miles in an NBA game.
That's pretty close. The average person is about 2.72 miles. So
okay.
Less. All right. How about American football?
American football, that's got to be less than basketball. I'm going to say 1.2.
The average, so it's really diverse, obviously, depending on your position and everything like that.
Yeah.
If you're a lineman, you run like
right, you're running 30 feet, yeah.
But they say, and they didn't really do a distance for this one, but they said, because it depends on position and everything, but they said that on average you're only actually moving for a total of 11 minutes per game. So
I'm probably about spot on for,
yeah,
you know, those guys maybe a mile and a half and they're 11 minutes, maybe a mile, because they're kind of just pushing each other back and forth. But
right. Tennis. Let me see if I can find this one. Where is it? Too much commentary, guys. I just want a number here.
You can make guess while you look it up. I guess on tennis, It's not a ton of movements.
This is during a 5-set match.
5 set, yeah, that's right, because it'll only be 3. But let's see, 5 set match. 1 mile.
3 miles.
3 miles in tennis.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And then for baseball, their comment is just ah ha ha ha. That was all. All right, so soccer, footy. What do you think of that?
Well, it's got to be the winner, I assume, the big
Yes,
distance.
it is the winner.
I'm gonna go 6.5 miles. Pretty long
What'd you say?
thing. 6.5.
Oh, so close, 7.
Okay,
Nicely done. Good job.
thank you.
They say, but they say that the average is 7. Some teams do as much as 9.5, but the better teams tend to run less. So there you go.
Okay. So there you go. You can go play soccer or just get up and go for a run.
Yeah. Good job. I'm sure there's probably a lot of sprinting in soccer, I would assume.
Yeah.
There you go. Sports.
Cool.
Sports.
and
We don't
running.
talk about it much, but there it is. Sports. Cool. All right. Well, let's. Anything else on the topic of running?
No. I think that's it's good on running. I covered my running fail this week. That was my only running topic that I was bringing to the table.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was all an excuse to get you to reveal your running fail. Take
Try it.
that.
Come back strong next week, I hope.
Nice. Cool. So what's on the half marathon training plan this week?
Well, this is the first week it starts to step it up a bit. My weekday runs are 4, 5, 4, then a 3-mile run and a 7-mile run. So I'm clearing the 20-mile mark for the runs for this week, if I do them all.
Good luck.
So
Sweet.
Yeah, thanks.
Don't say
Yeah,
if you do them all. You are doing them all.
I'm doing them all. It's kind of fun now. Like 'cause every week it adds a mile to the long run. So this week's 7. Today was 6. Next week 7, all the way up to 12. I haven't done a 12-mile run in a while, so feeling good about it. I'm looking forward to it. I might even, because I'm actually training, oddly enough, now for a half marathon, but for the Warrior Dash, just because I want to do really well at it. And I might, on my 12-mile run day, run 13.1 just for fun.
Nice.
We'll see what I'm feeling like that day.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Good deal. Cool. All right. How's your whole life challenge going? It's the last week of the whole life challenge.
Good. I'm certainly using my bonus points lately.
Nice. Hey, use them or lose them.
That's it. So, yeah, I'm hoping to finish with a perfect score. I'm poised to do it right now, assuming I stick to it this week. My biggest thing now that I'm really starting to think about is life after the whole life challenge. What am I going to keep from this, and what am I going to, toss to the wayside? And I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out now. I got a week to figure it out.
Nice. Cool. Well, maybe for the next one, we can get 1 or 2 of our Whole Life Challenge teammates on the podcast. I don't know. Jared's uninvited because he quit the Whole Life Challenge, but Mandy and Pipes are definitely welcome to join us and talk about the challenge.
Yeah, that's cool. Can we mention Jared for a minute?
Yeah, sure. He listens to the podcast, so hey, Jared.
Okay. All right, Jared. Hey, what's up? 1, we're glad that you were on our team. 2, I guess I'm sorry that you hated the Whole Life Challenge so much. I mean, you were bitterly against it, obviously. And I didn't get that. I mean, there's a lot there. I mean, I think his big beef was that, he paid $40 for. It seemed like in all his stuff where he was bitterly against it, he was like, I did something really, I did fitness and I ate what I would consider healthy today, and then I got docked points for it, and it really pissed him off. Right? I mean, is that your take on it?
Yeah. To the one thing I'll say to be fair to Jared is he did say he originally declined when I invited him, and he was like, I get way too crabby during diets. I'm terrible to diet with. I do terrible on diets, and I was like, all right, that's fine. I didn't push him or anything, but then a couple days later, he's like, yeah, I've been thinking about it and I'm doing it. I was like, all right. So, but he did warn me. He did warn you. That he gets super crabby about this kind of stuff. But yeah, I think you're right. That was this whole thing. Was he like, I biked 20 miles today, and then just because I ate this piece of bread, I have to lose a point.
Right, lose a point. Yeah. Yeah.
Which my response to that would be it's not like that was a surprise. You do the rule.
Right, right, yeah. You knew what it was all about. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the bread like came out of nowhere. And like that was the other thing that was a little like I guess disappointed for him too is that he like I think there was a lot to be learned if you kind of dove in head first and really like embraced the whole life challenge. Or you know what I mean? I think that was kind of the thing because I mean like one thing that he obviously because a lot of times he was like, oh man, I wanted to have some whey or I wanted to have some bread or I wanted to have some carbs or I needed carbs or whatever. Like a huge point of this was that you don't need that stuff at all. You know, like you can have, you know, you don't need that for endurance or for anything. And you know, like I would pretty much have agreed with him prior to the whole life challenge where I've been like, oh man, I'm gonna go for a 6 mile run today. What am I gonna eat beforehand? A bagel, you know, some bread, some carbs, and then you know, give my 30 minutes prior to my run and go for my run. That's what I would do on a distance run for years now. And I was like, gonna go for a distance run, and I took, you know, all natural peanut butter and a banana and ate it before my run and ran great and realized, oh, look at that. I didn't need that at all. That's totally pointless stuff.
Nice. Yeah, he sent me a text message the other day that it was a picture of himself eating a donut and flipping me the bird. So then I replied to that and I was like, you are uninvited to the podcast, to the wrap up podcast.
Nice.
That's funny. I mean, so we could say maybe the whole life challenge not for everyone, but
not
I
for everyone.
think 4 out of 5 of us would say that we got something out of it. Probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you know, and it was interesting too to see. You know, I would yeah, I'm all about doing the wrap up with all 4 of us that enjoyed and participated in the whole life challenge, to see what everybody had took away from it. You know, the differences were because like I tried to, I guess I would say I stuck to it really well, but I did also use all my bonus points. You know, if you really wanted to be like a perfectionist about it, you wouldn't even go there. I mean, I like strategically used them, and then a couple times I actually did falter and then needed to use them. Most of the time, in fact, I think like 90% of all my bonus points went to alcohol. You know, I was hanging out somewhere and wanted to have a drink or whatever, and yeah, in fact, that was it. I think all my bonus points went to alcohol. Except 2 days I missed exercise. But anyway, I'd love to see what everybody took from it and what they would do differently too. You know, if you were to ever do it again. But we'll say that for next week.
Yeah, good deal. All right, so when this is over, we'll focus on our half marathon trainings, and then maybe when that's done, we'll do some other weird, crazy program.
I like it. I get the moves coming, which is like a cool piece of technology, or crappy, I don't know yet. I haven't got one yet. Right. It comes out in the fall, though. Do you have one coming?
I do not.
Okay. Mandy and I both have them coming, so cool. We'll give them a good review once they come out.
Sweet.
Yeah. Hey, switching topics. One I want to cover because you know it's summertime, and I think it's a clutch one. I think we've covered a little bit in the past too, but like is the good old barbecue / holiday summer meal event thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I know that's like something that everybody deals with, and like especially like it before, like you know most everybody just says, oh well, it's a picnic. So even if you're trying to eat healthy or trying to do whatever, if you're at a 4th of July barbecue, you're gonna all bets are off. You're just gonna eat whatever's there. And through the whole life challenge, actually, that was one thing that I had quite a few of these kind of events come up during the course of it. And the first one I was nervous about because I was like, oh man, I'm not going to be drinking it all. You know, everybody's having a beer. I'm also, going to be passing on a lot of the foods. And, I think that's like a huge stumbling block, like holidays in general and public gathering meals in general are like where people eat crappy. And for some reason, we're just in the mindset that like, oh, it's a bunch of people eating together, not just dinner time. I guess I have to eat really crappy if there's really crappy choices here.
Right.
And yeah, you absolutely don't. And it's not very difficult either. At least it wasn't in my case. As far as the options were there, one, like, when I got there and the host was like, oh, can I get you something to drink? I was like, oh, you know what, I'll just start off with the water. And from that point on, nobody else really noticed if I was drinking at all in the meantime, or if I just had water the whole time or not. So nobody cared, and I thought that might be weird, but it wasn't at all. Um, and every once in a while, somebody would ask, and I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm doing this thing, the whole life challenge." So trying to, explain it a little bit, and they were just like, "Oh, cool." The other thing is like, especially if you're eating paleo. I mean, granted, there are some things that are like difficult to carry over through barbecues, but paleo, eating whole foods and all that, it's really simple because any barbecue you go to, there's, in America, there's going to be a big meat dish. You're going to have probably multiple meats to choose from. They're going to have chicken and burgers and whatever. So right there, you got enough to eat. And then everyone I went to had at least a veggie tray, and most of them had a crap load of different fruits to choose from, and all kinds of really great options. So I mean, you can eat really well, enjoy food. I mean, like there's all that stuff tastes great, and just pass on whatever bread and
Yeah.
stupid all the stuff that you hate. So it's much easier than you'd think. And next time you're out there and you're doing a family barbecue or whatever, a Fourth of July party, just keep it in mind. Be mindful. I mean, not saying don't drink, whatever, have a beer if you're gonna have a beer, but especially a lot of that diet, just don't worry about it. Don't falter on those days because it's not like you have to like suck it up and be like, I'm gonna eat rice cakes over in the corner. You get the main dish that everybody else is having. You can have anything else besides, and no one's gonna give a crap if you skip the other stuff. You're still gonna eat really good food. So there's my take on it.
Yeah.
What do you think,
No,
Ty? How's your?
yeah, no, I think that's good. Like my tentative plan for after the whole life challenge is to try and do basically the whole life challenge type eating 6 days a week and give myself one day a week where I can, and I'm not going to go crazy that day, but one day that I can, falter a little bit. So my plan will be if I do have some kind of event like that coming up to try and make that my day that week where I can be a little loose. But I think you make a good point that you don't certainly don't have to falter at those events either. Um, for me, I think I need that one day a week at least for now, just so it's not like there's something in the back of my head. Like I think part of the reason I've been kind of successful at the whole life challenge is because there's an end date. I know that eventually I'm not like making a decision for the rest of my life, and if I decide just like this is how I'm going to eat from now on, and there's no end date, I make it a little stressed out about that. So
Sure, sure. Yeah, no, that's a
so
good way to do it.
I was looking at this kind of related to that. I was looking at this the blog of this paleo guy, Mark's Daily Apple. We might have mentioned him before, but he's a paleo guy, and he was writing like ways to like enjoy food without, while being paleo, like some interesting other things. And one of his big things that he wrote about that I thought that I'd never thought of before, and I thought was pretty interesting, was that like in America, in Western culture, one of the big ways that we kind of make food decadent is by like having very sugary foods and like having desserts and stuff like that. But in like for the majority of the world, instead of that, they go for really spicy foods. So it's like if you grew up in America, you probably don't like really spicy foods. You probably stay away from them. But the majority of humanity, like that's a thing that they grow up with, and that's like one of their really special things is to have really really spicy food. So it's like I would highly recommend you like just try to acclimate yourself a little bit to spicy foods because it's a way to really kind of wake up your senses in a new way that we don't often experience. Are you there, Jonathan? I think I might have lost you. Hmm. Well, apparently Jonathan was a little freaked out by my suggestion of spicy foods and hung up. Or the other option is that he was so inspired by this advice about spicy foods that he left to go eat some spicy foods right now. We don't know. Could be either. Um, are you there, Jonathan? All right. Well, while we're waiting for him here, we'll see if he comes back in a second. Hey, it says he joined the call. This will all be edited out of the audio version of this podcast. You video viewers are getting to experience the true behind-the-scenes magic that goes into podcasting. All right, so we've got some technical difficulties. It looks like Jonathan says texted me and said he can't get back on. So spicy foods. There we go. That's all I got to say about that. I'm gonna try one more thing here to see if I can get Jonathan on, and if that doesn't work, we will wrap it up there. Hold on a second.
Hey,
Hey,
I'm back.
all right, we missed you.
Sorry about that technical difficulty.
No problem.
Apparently,
I'm sure the audience will agree that I vamped very awesomely during that break.
sweet.
For about 30 seconds of that, I was like, out of things to say. So, welcome back. Anyway,
Right.
I thought maybe you were so inspired by my talking about spicy food that you
I
went
just
out to,
ran off and got some hot sauce. I'm back though.
like, I'm gonna try this. But anyway, he was basically saying that it's a new way to a way to kind of awaken the senses and awaken the taste buds that we Americans don't often experience and are kind of against most of the time. So I was thinking about I should try to what would be a way to a starter way to try to eat some spicy foods and stuff like that.
Ooh. You know what? Green chilies, like roasted green chilies, stuff like that, can make some awesome. Go well in a ton of different dishes. You could start with that. You can put them in breakfast burritos or omelets or whatever you want to do. They make great green chilies that are awesome and are spicy. Start there.
Nice. Cool. All right, I'll work my way up. I was having lunch recently with a colleague from India who was visiting from India, and he was telling me about the ghost pepper in India. This the hottest pepper in the world, and the way they just touch the tiniest bit to your tip of your finger and put that on your food, and then wash your hand right away or whatever. And sounded pretty crazy. Yeah. So I'm not ready for that action yet.
Sounds like a little much.
Hey, I'll work my way up there.
Yeah. I guess there's another on the same lines of this paleo guy, trying spicy foods. So apparently I'm always doing some crazy food type related thing, cutting something out of my diet or tweaking it or whatever. But the best thing about doing that is there's so many awesome food choices that I never ever would have experienced had I just stuck to eating the same thing all the time. Like when I did my year of vegan, I'm certainly still to this day not a huge vegetable person or whatever, or I wouldn't consider myself that. But during that year, I found tons of different vegetables that can be prepared in different ways that I never thought of preparing them, or combinations that I never thought of, or just foods I'd never ever eaten, and they were awesome. I discovered tons of new great food. So if you're ever gonna try and cut carbs out or do something like that, don't think of the carbs you're cutting out. Think of the basically endless possibilities of new things you can try to substitute it. Things that you're gonna learn to love. That you'll start to have new staples in your diet because you love them, and it's a good thing, I think. But
yeah, next week on the group podcast we should talk about that. What's your favorite recipe you've discovered because of the Whole Life Challenge?
Right.
We'll say that for then.
Okay, I got one, but I'm
cool. All right.
Keep it on the down low.
Don't say it. We're going to edit it out of this podcast anyway.
All right.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all I got. Anything else you want to discuss this fine day?
Nah, I'm good.
All right.
That's a good Sunday. Or
you got
any? You
got any songs for the old song list today?
Yeah. You know what? I screwed up because I do have one. I specifically heard one, and while I was running, it was like, "Ooh, this is a perfect running song. It's my podcast song." And I can't think of the name of it. I should have written it down at the time. I know the artist, but I gotta go look it up. And
all right, we'll save it for next time.
All right,
maybe we should go every other week because we each do one. I'll do one this week, you do one next week, kind of thing.
I think we should shoot for every week because that's probably going to end up with one every other week.
All right, I'm gonna do "Are You Gonna Be My Girl" by Jet.
Okay, there's one out of left field. I wouldn't have.
So
I like it
go.
though. That is a good one. Cool.
All right, cool. So that'll do it for us. Head to RealDadFitness.com. Check out our various fitnessy things, and most importantly, subscribe to the podcast, review the podcast, subscribe to us on iTunes, That's all I got. We will talk to you next week. This is PT. I got to run.
All right, stay real, stay fit, dads. We'll see you next week.